In every prison system around the world, there exists an unwritten hierarchy, a code that determines who calls the shots behind those concrete walls and steel bars. And in Australia's maximum security facilities, one name has struck fear into the hearts of both inmates and guards alike for decades. Matthew Johnson, better known as the General. Within Australia's toughest prison walls, Johnson's reputation precedes him, a man so dangerous that even hardened criminals give him a wide berth in the yard. In 2010, he committed one of the most brazen murders in Australian prison history when he beat notorious gangland figure Carl Williams to death in full view of security cameras. But what creates a man like Matthew Johnson? How does someone evolve from a troubled kid in Melbourne's southeastern suburbs to Australia's most feared prison inmate? That's what we're diving into today. Matthew Johnson's story begins on August 9th, 1973, in Dandenong, a working-class suburb southeast of Melbourne. Dandenong in the 70s and 80s was a tough industrial area with its fair share of social problems. For young Matthew, stability was something he rarely experienced. When he was just 6 years old, tragedy struck when his father died, leaving a void that would never truly be filled. What followed was a revolving door of father figures, none providing the guidance a young boy needed. His first stepfather has been described as an alcoholic who subjected the family to abuse. The second abandoned the family in particularly dramatic fashion, running away with his own niece. Imagine what that does to a child's sense of trust and stability. School offered little respite. Johnson struggled academically and behaviourally, getting expelled during Year 7. He was transferred to St Kilda Community School, an alternative institution designed for at-risk youth. But even this environment couldn't keep him engaged, and his formal education ended completely after Year 10. Childhood trauma experts note that this kind of early instability often creates a craving for structure and control later in life. For some, this manifests in rigid routines or perfectionism. For others, like Johnson, it can lead to exerting control through intimidation and violence. What's particularly telling about Johnson's later life is how he would come to find comfort in the rigid structure of prison, the very place designed to punish him. By age 15, Johnson had his first brush with the law. What started as typical teenage rebellion, petty theft, vandalism, quickly escalated. Car theft, breaking and entering, and illegal weapons possession became his resume. And like many young offenders, substance abuse accelerated his descent. Amphetamines, marijuana, and prescription drugs all played their part. At just 17 years old, Johnson found himself incarcerated in the infamous Pentridge Prison, a maximum security facility that housed some of Australia's most dangerous criminals. Rather than serving as a deterrent, this experience became a turning point for Johnson, but not in the way the justice system intended. What's interesting about Johnson's early prison experience is that he reportedly found comfort in the prison's rigid structure: 3 meals a day, clear hierarchies, and simple rules to follow. It provided the stability his childhood had lacked. This is a critical psychological insight into his development. The very system designed to punish him was inadvertently providing what he'd been missing. When Johnson was released back into society, his crimes grew increasingly violent. He became known for targeting drug dealers in Melbourne's southeastern suburbs, Keysborough, Doveton, and Springvale. These weren't random targets. Drug dealers made perfect victims. They had cash, they couldn't report thefts to police, and intimidating them established Johnson's growing reputation. By 1994, at just 21 years old, Johnson received his first serious conviction for causing grievous bodily harm. 5 years later, at 26, he was sentenced to 6 years for armed robbery. While serving this sentence in Barwon Prison's Acacia unit, he violently attacked another inmate named Gregory Brazel, further cementing his reputation for brutality. Barwon Prison would later become synonymous with Johnson's name. Located near Geelong, about an hour southwest of Melbourne, this maximum security facility houses Victoria's most dangerous criminals. Its concrete walls and razor wire would become Johnson's permanent home and the site of his most notorious crime. By 2007, Johnson's criminal confidence had reached new heights. In one particularly brazen night, he carjacked a mother and daughter at a McDonald's restaurant, then used that stolen vehicle to commit a home invasion targeting suspected drug dealers later the same evening. Police finally caught up with him when they found him in the stolen car at a railway station parking lot. By this point, his criminal record had surpassed 100 prior convictions, a staggering number that speaks to both his persistent criminality and the revolving door nature of the justice system. During sentencing, Judge Jeff Chettle didn't mince words, calling Johnson a real menace to society with nil prospects for rehabilitation. The judge handed down a 13-year prison sentence. It was during this sentence that Johnson would commit the murder that would make him infamous throughout Australia. Before the Carl Williams murder, Johnson faced trial for another killing, that of 18-year-old Brian Conus, allegedly over a mere $50 drug debt. The case against Johnson seemed strong. His housemate Timothy Prentice testified against him, and forensic evidence linked the murder weapon, a 9mm Luger, to Johnson. There were even disturbing allegations of body mutilation, yet after 27 hours of deliberation, the jury delivered an unexpected verdict: not guilty. The acquittal shocked many legal observers and the public, with some speculating about witness intimidation, although this was never proven. This case illustrates something important about Johnson's criminal career. Despite his extensive record, he had developed a certain criminal cunning that allowed him to navigate the legal system. This acquittal would be his last major legal victory. April 19, 2010. The recreation area of Barwon Prison's Maximum Security Division. Carl Williams, once Melbourne's most feared gangland figure responsible for at least 4 murders during Melbourne's bloody gangland wars, sat reading a newspaper. The front page featured a story about himself, perhaps a moment of pride for the notorious criminal. What Williams didn't know was that Matthew Johnson had been watching him. Johnson had removed the metal stem from an exercise bike seat, fashioning it into a crude but deadly weapon. Security cameras captured the entire incident in chilling detail. Johnson approached Williams from behind and, without warning, struck him repeatedly on the head with the metal bar. The attack was swift, brutal, and clearly premeditated. Williams never had a chance to defend himself. Perhaps most disturbing was Johnson's behavior afterward. After beating Williams to death, he made a cup of tea and waited calmly for guards to discover the body. This cold, calculated behavior offers a window into Johnson's psychology, a complete detachment from the gravity of taking human life. During his trial, Johnson claimed self-defense, arguing that Williams was planning to kill him first. Justice Lex Lasry dismissed this defense as fanciful and sentenced Johnson to life imprisonment with a non-parole period of 32 years. He won't be eligible for release until 2042, when he'll be 69 years old. The Carl Williams murder had significant ramifications beyond Johnson's life sentence. It exposed major security flaws in Victoria's prison system and raised serious questions about corruption. A royal commission later revealed that police had been paying Williams's daughter's school fees in exchange for information. Some have speculated that Johnson's murder of Williams may have been connected to this informant status, though Johnson has never confirmed this motive. Behind bars, Johnson became known as the General, a nickname that speaks to his status in the prison hierarchy. He formed and led a prison gang called Prisoners of War, extending his influence throughout Barwon's maximum security units. What's particularly interesting about Johnson is that despite his extreme violence, he found an unusual creative outlet: poetry writing. This contradiction, a brutal killer who expresses himself through verse, highlights the complexity of even the most seemingly one-dimensional criminals. Johnson's influence continued to cause problems, even from behind bars. In 2017, he allegedly made death threats against Roberta Williams, Carl Williams' ex-wife. In 2021, he attempted to appeal his conviction based on findings from the Royal Commission, but abandoned this effort in 2022, citing difficulty obtaining necessary documents. What drives a man like Matthew Johnson? Psychologists who have studied his case point to several factors. First, there's his adherence to the prison code, a strict set of unwritten rules that govern inmate behavior. In this world, informants are the lowest of the low, and violence is often seen as necessary to maintain respect. Then there's his early childhood experiences. The death of his father, abusive stepfathers, and general instability created a perfect storm of trauma. Without proper intervention, these experiences shaped a young man who found order in chaos and power in intimidation. Matthew Johnson's trajectory from troubled Dandenong youth to Australia's most feared inmate reveals much about both individual psychology and systemic failures. His story illustrates how childhood trauma, without proper intervention, can cascade into a lifetime of violence. It shows how prison systems can inadvertently reward the very behaviours they're designed to punish. In examining Johnson's life, we're not just exploring one man's criminality, but holding a mirror to the systems and society that shaped him. And perhaps in that reflection, we might find ways to prevent the next troubled child from following a similar path. If you found this exploration of criminal psychology interesting, please like and subscribe for more in-depth examinations of complex cases. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.